Mayor Carlos Gimenez is taken to the podium at the Miami-Dade EOC. So we will listen in shortly as he gets going. He's just kind of testing the microphones there. And then we'll get back to Jeff Wines here and that parking issue in Hollywood.
But we've been waiting for a while now to hear Carlos Gimenez speak, as Michael Putney just told us.
Yeah, he has 43 shelters to get through. So it's going to be a lot of information. Get your pens and paper ready if you're not in place yet and might be looking for a shelter.
Just some information on the shelter information and some more up-to-date shelter information. I know there's been some shelters that have had some problems. Right now we are housing over 23,000 people in our shelters. We have 43 shelters that are operational, 7 of which are closed, and 1 special needs shelter. There were some operational issues this afternoon, and I actually went out and saw some of the shelters myself and came back and put together a team, and we fixed the issues. Some of the issues that we've been having here is that the system that's inside that has up-to-date information doesn't really talk to this system back here, which is our PIO, and that's the system that you're all using in order to get the information out. So we're working on that particular glitch. We had a issue with some shelters being full right away and then other shelters obviously not being at capacity. We're working with the Red Cross, the National Guard, the school system, and Miami-Dade County, and we now have a process in place where everybody is talking so that we know exactly what's going on, which shelters have capacity, and the ones that are right now at capacity and basically closed, we have buses out there that will transport anybody that goes to those shelters to shelters that actually have capacity. Obviously, as I said before, we have the capacity to house about 100,000 people, and we're at 23,000, so obviously there are a lot of shelters that have, a lot of capacity. So I'm, willing to take any questions on this issue. And yes, go.
English questions first, then we're going to go Spanish after.
Mr. Mayor, could you explain again what were the problems with one system not talking to another system?
I don't know. I don't know in the news media if you have these problems where one computer system doesn't talk to another computer system.
Yes.
This computer system inside the intra computer system wasn't talking to the computer system that goes out. Still is not. So we're having to do this on a manual basis. We're getting our IT people to come in and see if they can get it fixed, as quickly as possible. So that's what caused a lot of the problems and the confusion with the media as to what was open, what was not open. Somehow a list got out again, okay, and people were showing up at shelters when we weren't really ready to do so. The National Guard we have the Red Cross and they're tasked with being the operators of the shelter. When their capacity was met, then we went to the National Guard in order to be the shelter managers for the other shelters that we opened up. The National Guard, some of their personnel weren't going to show up till 12 o'clock tonight. So we've got Miami-Dade County personnel actually filling in for them, but they're not shelter managers, all right?
Right.
So again, this is an extraordinary event with many more shelters open than we normally open. The first batch, which was the principals that know how to run a shelter, the Red Cross, and us, they went pretty well. It was the other batch that ended up having principals they were thrust into a new job. The National Guard, some units were there, some were not, and so that ended up being part of the problem, part of the confusion, not having the communications between those shelters back and forth with us. So, this is another learning experience for this particular hurricane. We now have a process in place so that that's not going to happen again. We had people in different silos working on the same issue. Now we're going to put everybody in the same room working on that same issue, so that kind of confusion never happens again. The bottom line is, I actually, okay, I'm the one that said we're going to have 100,000 shelter spaces available. And I put really a lot of pressure on the people in that room to get that done. They did the best they could. I did the best, that I could, and we did get it done, but
Right.
there were some glitches along the way.
Why are there not more people if you've got 23,000 in the shelters? Where's everybody who needs to be there?
You mean in terms of personnel?
No, the citizens of Miami-Dade County who are told to evacuate.
Well, that's why I pushed for 100,000 people. I mean, so I didn't want to get to the point where I had that number of people. In other words, the normal number of people evacuated in Miami-Dade County may be 10%.
Right.
And so if we asked 600,000 people to evacuate, you would estimate 60,000. But this is an extraordinary storm. And so I would also want to put a factor of people that didn't feel safe even in their home, even if it wasn't an evacuation area, which, by the way, did happen to. And so we added an extra factor to get it to 100,000. Right now, there's 23,000 folks in the shelter. We expect, another batch tomorrow. A lot of people are obviously looking at the path of the hurricane and seeing if we're going to get a direct hit or not. I say, this path has been going back and forth to the right and to the left. It's better to be safe than sorry. If you're in an evacuation area, please try to find shelter with a friend, a coworker, and if we are the shelter of last resort, but we should have enough capacity as being the shelter of last resort for the people that really need to, shelter with Miami-Dade County. Look, school board's done a great job being asked to do something that they've never been asked to do in terms of adding these additional shelters. The Red Cross did a great job in filling out the roster that they normally do, and the National Guard obviously being thrust into a job that they don't normally do either. But this is an emergency, and so when you have an emergency, it calls for unusual measures. And when you do that without the planning or the training for those individuals, glitches are going to happen, and that's what happened in this case. And that I'm not happy about. But I am happy that they did what I asked them to do, which is open 100,000 shelter spaces.
And do you expect a big rush tomorrow?
That's a hard one. I think a lot of people are going to look at this storm and see where it's going. If that comes back to us, yes, I think there will be a big rush. If it doesn't come back to us, there'll be some more, but not as many as probably if it shipped back to us. Because I still think there's a lot of folks that are scared about 160-mile-an-hour winds. If it now looks like it's 100-mile-an-hour winds, maybe those folks will maybe just stay in their home. And I'm just being honest, okay? Yeah. Those folks that are in the evacuation area, that's storm surge. That's not about wind.
Right.
So I think those values are still good. They still need to get out. But hope most of those, found a spot with their family and their friends.
Mr. Mayor, could you walk us through that meeting where you said, I want 100,000 spots in shelters? Who was going to be responsible for staffing this? Did someone tell you, Mr. Mayor, we don't have the people to do that? Or did someone say, no problem, the Red Cross will take care of this? Could you sort of help us?
No, it's somewhere in the middle. And the middle is when you ask your folks, your people, okay, to do something difficult, they will tell you this is difficult, all right. And so they told me that's difficult, and I said I understand that's difficult, but we got to get it done. And so, there was no option. If in fact 100,000 people want to seek shelter with Miami-Dade County, we need to have that capability. I'd rather have 80,000 empty spaces than have, certain people being turned away because we have no more room in shelters. This is an extraordinary event. This is, an extremely powerful storm that poses a great threat to Miami-Dade County. And so, the hard, I asked for it to be done immediately. The impossible takes a little bit more time. No, actually, I thought that would have been the opposite. I felt that my fear was that if people saw that there were people in line waiting for shelters, that there'd be a rush on all the shelters because all the space was being taken up. And so what happened was a distribution problem where folks in South Dade, which obviously has the greatest number of evacuees, were actually going to their neighborhood shelter. we needed to distribute those folks better than we did. Also, there were people giving orders that and telling our bus drivers to go places where they shouldn't have, and so we rectified that once I got back. All the orders were going to come from here. All of it was going to be coordinated from here, and we were going to get people to the right place from here. Now, I'm not disparaging anybody that took initiative, but sometimes when you're trying to do the best thing, sometimes you may be sending people to the wrong place. So that level of control had to come back to the operations center.
Who was ordering a county bus to go somewhere else?
Different people, sometimes a school official, sometimes a police officer, sometimes a National Guardsman would say, take those people to there. And so these are the bus drivers. So, okay, I'm going to take them there. And that's not the way it should have happened. It needed to come from here after we got the information because it was an inconvenience. But like I said, when I started this thing, back on Monday or Tuesday, I'll probably inconvenience a lot of people, all right? But I want to make sure that they're safe. And so I'm sorry if we inconvenience some people, but it was done so that you would be safe and that you are safe. We do have 23,000 people in our shelters. They will be safe. They will be fed. And so, like I said, sometimes when you ask for very, very difficult things, there are glitches. But we have professional people, and then we solve those problems. We have to work the problem, and that's what we did. Some shelters are being staffed mainly by school board personnel. That's the principals and the cafeteria people. Then Miami-Dade County volunteers, and also the volunteers of the Red Cross. The volunteers of the Red Cross are actually the ones that manage the shelters. Other shelters are being staffed by, again, Dade County school principals and personnel, some cafeteria folks. Then also the National Guard, and then some volunteers from Miami-Dade. And in the case of some shelters right now, Miami-Dade Police is actually stepping in for National Guard. We understand that those National Guards, those National Guard units will be coming in at midnight. Then that will relieve Miami-Dade County Police.